I have some things to say. So I've been busy this week,
Okay,
as far as my, hey, the expo's done, and now I have all this free time
right.
to watch stuff. So I finished Gravity Falls.
Okay,
It
cute.
was really good.
Loves.
I see why everyone told me to watch it.
Yeah,
A
it's a cute
little bit
show.
late to the party, but I did finish it. I was really impressed by it. I'm still organizing all my thoughts. Then, because I had some time left in the evening, I watched Sinners. Have you watched Sinners, Bradley?
Oh, the vampire movie? No, I haven't seen it.
Go watch it.
Okay.
Go watch it. ASAP. It's really fucking good.
Okay.
And then I've started Interview with the Vampire season 2 because it's finally on Netflix. I've
Uh-huh.
only watched 20 minutes of episode 1 of the season, so I'm not very far. I was starting to fall asleep and I was like, I need to go to bed so I can
That's
really
fair.
truly appreciate this show. Um, but then I was pissed. So I've been watching, I have my good show that I watch, which is Star Trek The Next Generation. And then in the evenings over dinner, I've been watching my trash TV show,
Right.
the one I don't want to think about. It's just terrible, which is Gotham. Except I stopped watching Gotham back in like 2013 or whatever, 2014. I stopped watching after season 2, episode 3. And before I watched Gravity Falls, the last episode I watched of Gotham was season 2, episode 3. And I went back to go pick it up, and HBO Max had removed it.
Oh, it's not even on HBO anymore.
It's not even on HBO Max anymore. They yanked it off,
Oh,
which annoyed me because I
that
literally got
sucks.
to the part I left off 10 years ago. And now I've got to wait for it to come to another streaming platform so I can finish my terrible show.
If it's off HBO, then that means it's gonna be on Netflix probably next week. They usually just kind of cycle through, so it just depends
Yeah,
on.
they do license these things out. And I was reading a little bit online that there were rights issues with it because it did air on Fox originally.
Yep.
So like I was reading it was on Hulu because
Right, because
Disney bought
Disney.
Fox,
Right.
but it was Fox originally, and now it's gone
Uh,
from Hulu too. So they may be having a rights issue with it and be trying to sort that out.
right, and see like who actually owns it or
Who actually
whatever. Yeah,
owns
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
rights to it, which
That's curious.
I've
I don't
watched
know.
the show and it's not worth fighting over,
Yeah,
which
but
is
because
bizarre.
HBO just dropped Superman, they probably are having a discussion with uh James Gunn about like what is allowed to be on there anymore and all this
Well,
kind of stuff. And
I don't know if that's the case because I have also been reading like they've been yanking DC stuff off of HBO Max,
right.
which is really weird. So I'm like hesitant to start a long-running show on HBO Max now for DC because like are they going to yank it off again and then
Yeah,
you
because if
can't
it
get it
doesn't
anywhere?
doesn't fit with his canon or whatever, he's gonna take it off or something.
Well, he
So,
doesn't care. He's already apparently, I haven't watched it, but apparently he's already introduced the multiverse back into
oh, I
his new
saw
DC thing.
Superman.
It's in Peacekeeper, I guess.
Oh, I
But
didn't
they've
watch
already said
Peacekeeper, but
he
I've
did
seen all the
something that
clips.
was really interesting too, was he already said that like they have a whole separate label for stuff that's like a different canon or like
Mm.
a different universe. It's called Elseworlds. So they're already saying, yeah, some of the stuff we're putting out is not going to necessarily be like
Yeah,
DCU canon. Like it's not going to be in this specific thing, but like we're going to keep making it.
I I have a trouble with that because like here's the thing. I saw Superman. I watched it the other night.
I didn't. I haven't seen it yet.
I don't think you need to.
Oh, really?
It's just not that good. I think it's too many characters. Like it's just too much. Like
Hmm.
he has Hawk Girl and Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific and all these. I'm like, why the fuck are all these people in the Superman movie? Like they don't need to be here. They serve no narrative purpose other than we wanted to cast them now so we could use them later. Like it doesn't make any sense. I'm sure James has like some kind of vision in his head or whatever, but honestly, I feel like it's just a lot. Like make the Superman movie about Superman. Like why do we have to do these like DC had this problem last time where they were like we got to hurry up and do Justice League because they're doing Avengers over here. And it's like no you don't. Just do a fucking singular Batman movie. Like you don't have to go crazy and they just refused to do that. They were like, well it's got to be Batman v Superman because got to have both of them. That'll really show the Avengers who's boss. Like why do we care? Why are we doing that? You guys are making mediocre content by doing that.
I'll watch the movie at some point.
Oh, I think
I'll
it's
get to it.
fine. I don't think
I'll
it's
get to it.
bad. I think it's fine. I mean, I love David Cornsweet, so he's a great Superman. And he's hot as fuck, so it's fine. But other than that, like there are cringy, like, why did you why did you cast this person? Why did you do that? I don't know.
Interesting.
It's really
I
ugh.
haven't seen it yet, so
Yeah.
I know Nathan Fillion's apparently in it.
Yeah, he's the Green Lantern. So that's why I'm like, it's a lot.
The Green Lantern or a Green Lantern?
Sorry, he's a Green Lantern. He's not the one
I was
that
gonna
we would think
say,
of.
I would have heard if they'd cast Hal Jordan
No, 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 no. And I don't even think of
immediately.
him
That would have been
over.
the problem with
Yeah,
that would have been exactly the problem. My issue with the Zack Snyder of it all when he was doing their answer to Marvel
yeah,
was that they introduced the rest of the Justice League way too fast.
right.
And Batman's movie, or rather Batman like got in there and took over uh I lost my words. Superman's movie. And then
Yeah, yeah,
fucking
yes,
Wonder
yes,
Woman
yes.
shows up at the last minute to take over the movie from both of them.
Yeah, it
Wonder
was
Woman had like
a
one of the only
mess.
good movies in that because the movie was about her.
Right. Her original movie was the best one because it was
It
uh,
was, yeah, it was
about
about
her.
her. And that's
Yes.
what made phase one of Marvel work so well
Yes.
was we had like five separate movies that were just about the characters that like each one got their own moment and then oh, we're all together for the
Yeah.
Avengers now.
And that's why where I think Superman fails is because it jumps in 3 years after he's Superman. It like they have like a
See, I don't think
little
we need
thing in
more
the beginning.
fucking origin stories.
I
This
don't
is
think we
my
need
thing.
origin,
This
but
is
I
my
think
thing.
you
This is
need
part of why I
time to
liked
grow.
this is one of the things I liked about the Batman,
Yeah.
which I thought the Batman was pretty good, if about 45 minutes too long.
Yeah.
It was a long movie. It did not need to be that long. I was glad that they jumped right in and they were like, nope, he is Batman. He has been Batman for a hot minute. We're just gonna roll with it. And I'm like, great. I fucking know the origin story of Batman. I fucking know the origin story of Superman. Wonder Woman could kind of get away with it because I
Yeah.
don't think people really think about like her origin story
Well, because it hasn't been done to death like
because it
every in
hasn't been done to
Batman and
death.
Superman
Like
and
every
Spider-Man.
Batman
Yeah.
has the crime alley
Right.
moment in it because it fucking has to.
No, I think
And
it's fine, but the problem is that they did that, but then they expect us to care about or believe the interactions between the characters already. Like, it's just like I don't believe that this Lex Luthor really hates Superman that much because we haven't seen it. He doesn't have like a motivation, like other than just, well, you're
well, you're
supposed to hate
getting a
him. Like,
Superman 2, so maybe they'll get
ugh.
into that more in Superman 2.
I don't think so because they just skip over it in this first one on purpose. Like
I don't
they,
know. I'll have
it's
to
annoying.
I'll watch it and we'll reconvene because
Okay, there you go.
I mentioned in our For Light and Dice we have a private Discord
Yeah,
just for the cast. So we can like plan episodes
sure.
and do all the technical stuff on the back end and when we need to scheme something and we have different channels in it just for organizational purposes. And I mentioned in our off-topic channel I was like, yeah, I've been getting really into the Batman stuff lately because they announced a new Lego video game. That's what prompted this whole thing. Was they
Oh,
announced a
okay.
new Lego Batman video game and they were like, it's going to draw from all of this Batman history. I'm going to fix this because it's bothering. There we go. It's going to draw from all this Batman history. I was like, well, damn, maybe I should go back and watch or read some of the stuff that like I was interested in but never got around to. And it turns out Robin is a really big Batman fan.
Hmm.
So she has made me a list of Batman stuff to consume that's good. So
Oh, I
I'm
like
going
how
to
you
be able
said
to
that.
start working through that list.
I was thinking you meant like Robin from Batman for a second, and I was okay, yeah, I guess
No,
Robin's a
but she
Batman
did
fan,
include,
but
I did mention that I'd read some Robin content and really liked it now that I'm an adult and not a surly teenager who was a fan of the Nolan movies and whose opinions were wrong. And she did include Young Justice on that, which I've
ugh.
never seen. So I'll report back when I've watched Young Justice.
Okay, so I actually convinced my coworker while I was in Hawaii to rewatch Young Justice while we were working in the office. So every day he was watching it while we were working.
I've never seen it.
Okay,
I've
wait a
never
minute.
seen a single episode of Young
Okay,
Justice.
wait a
Do I
minute.
need to bump Young Justice significantly up the list?
Oh my God, yeah. It's probably the best thing, I would argue, the best thing DC's ever done. I don't think any of their other
Really?
stuff, all their other stuff is actual
Okay.
dog shit. This is like good content. Like Young Justice is
Oh,
my
no,
favorite.
like her
Yeah.
list of DC content. Let me pull up aforementioned list. Is
Actually,
things
yeah.
like Batman the Animated Series, Mask of the Phantasm, Under the Red Hood. She's got
Yeah, there's some good animated stuff in
Harley
there. I just,
Quinn on
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
She's got yeah, obviously Young Justice, and then she's got a couple of the comic trades on here, but not as many. I think she knew that I mostly like to watch stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really like
No,
to
no, no.
read
Reading
stuff.
in comics for DC stuff, I feel like that's like a whole entire another rabbit hole you don't want to go down, and that's just like I could never do it. But I think
But
my
she's
final thought
made
on
that,
that
and
is,
I
yeah, Young Justice is one of the
bumped Young
best
Justice
things.
up the list specific up the
Yeah.
list significantly. Okay.
Young Justice, I'll say my final thing is Young Justice is how you do the origin story or whatever without over explaining all the people's backstories and that we already knew. That's how you do it, is Young Justice. Just
So
keep that in
here's my unfortunate temptation, which we're coming up on our 15 minutes.
mind.
So I'm not going to let you jump down my throat too much about this one. All of this is good, and that's the problem. Is that all of this is good, and I need a trash TV show. I need one
Yeah.
that's bad. I need one that isn't good. At least one. So when I'm in my fuck, I need to turn my brain off mode, I can put something on and minorly be annoyed at it to feel an emotion. You know what do you know what HBO Max still has?
What?
They do still have all 4 seasons of Titans.
That if you do want to get mad at something, if you
I
want to
feel
hate
like I
watch,
should watch Young Justice first and
yes.
understand the characters being written good. Actually,
100%. Yes.
no. That is exactly what I'll do. You heard it here live on the
Yes.
podcast. I will
That's a great idea,
this
actually.
is my plan is I will watch Young Justice and then I will watch Titans.
No, I think that's actually a great idea because Titans is like they wanted to do the CW verse, but like they were like, oh, but we have more money. But then they were like, but yeah, but we don't have better writers. So it was like, let's Riverdale this, but not actually do it well. And it was very like, ugh.
For context, if you're listening to this preamble and you're not familiar with any of what we just talked about, Titans is the infamous "fuck Batman" trailer where they showed it at Comic-Con and they showed Dick Grayson saying "fuck Batman." It's so stupid. It's
I
such a
know, but he's
stupid
so
trailer.
hot. Oh my
He's
God.
so hot in this because he's played by the guy from the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Hmm.
Unironically, I rewatched the trailer. Unironically, I if there's one thing about the trailer that genuinely would convince me to watch the show, besides you told me it was terrible, it would be I watched that trailer and immediately believed that guy is Dick Grayson.
It's so good. The first season's not
The
great.
energy he radiates, like
Yeah.
when he's in his civilian outfit, I'm like, I immediately buy that this guy just spent 10 years being Robin.
No, it's
I
fantastic.
immediately
Yeah.
believe it.
It's
I
they
get
did
it.
such a good job of that. I think it's a
I
great thing. You should watch it. Season 2 though is where it's at because they introduce this is why you need to watch Young Justice first because Young Justice introduces Superboy and Superboy is introduced in the second season of Titans. So that's
I
why you
remember
need the
talking
preamble.
about him in like a pre-meeting back
Hmm.
before we recorded these. Because now we record them, but we've been doing these.
Yes.
Like, we'll warm up for 15 minutes. I remember you talking about how hot the actor they cast for Superboy is.
Oof. Oh my God, bruh. Okay, we can't. We
I
gotta,
know
we
they cast.
gotta, we gotta watch this.
I know they get to. I know they get to Jason Todd eventually.
They do, and he's
He's
not
in
bad
it.
either.
Tim Drake is also in it.
He's also not bad.
It's one of the few pieces. I did Google ahead a little bit. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
one of the
yeah.
only things I
I
know
don't
about
really think you're spoiling that
Titans.
much, honestly.
No, it's one of the few pieces of media that his boyfriend is in it.
Right.
Because they haven't really made any like Robin content, I don't think, in the last couple of years. I
No.
couldn't find any. The last big one I actually found was Titans.
Yeah, because Young Justice only goes through, I think, three of the Robins. They never do all of them. They only do about
The
the
only
main
thing I've
three.
ever found with all of them in it
Well, the animated
was,
movies do them, but
well, I've been reading Wayne Family Adventures like at work. Like
mhm.
if I have 5 minutes, I'll read like a couple of strips of that. They're all in that, but the
I mean,
stuff that I've looked at,
if you watch the animated Batman DC movies in order, they'll cover everything. So they do eventually get to all of them, and they do them in order. Like so, they'll do like as you keep going, and then you have to sprinkle in the what is it the Justice League movies. So it's like the
yeah, I'm
all
not
that stuff.
going through the entire DC animated canon in order. I have
That's
to talk
another
about
thing to do.
Star
Yeah,
Wars.
yeah, that's right.
I have Star Wars that I need to watch
Yeah, we
still
should
because we still
probably
have to
get
do
on
this
that.
podcast.
Welcome to the show, Gold Squadron Gaze. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
I'm your other host, Charles Rogers, and I'm not tired.
Oh, good.
I have
Okay, I
got to
was like,
spend the
let's not.
entire week sitting in front of my TV
I
watching
love that.
TV. And if you want to hear about all the shows that I've been watching, because it's a lot of them, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/Gold Squadron Gaze. Sign up for our co-pilot tier, $3 a month. You get these episodes unedited. So when I frantically tried to figure out how to explain a hard magic system to Bradley, you get to listen to that entire fumbling thing as opposed to the succinct little ending he put in last week's episode. One thing you can also get is 18 minutes of Bradley and I talking about, well, I think it's about 18 minutes of Bradley and I talking about DC. That was at the beginning of this episode. Follow along for my Young Justice slash Titans journey that I'm about to embark on because we thought it would be funny. Speaking of journeys, we have no new news this week. So, what journey are we going on this week as we're covering something? I don't
Okay.
know. I'm
Transitions
bad
are
at
hard.
words.
Yeah. Uh,
Transitions are really, really, really hard into these. And speaking of elevated rail systems, no, fuck, that didn't work. What are we talking about this week?
this week we're talking about Tales of the Underworld, the Cad Bane episodes where Cad Bane confronts his past while meeting an old friend turned Marshal.
Do you have information about who was the voice cast of these episodes? And then
Yes,
we'll dive straight into them.
absolutely. So the voice cast this week is it's very complicated with these episodes. So I tried to succinct it down as much as I could because people double up on a lot of roles. A lot of these people just they're like, oh, I do like the shopkeeper. I'm also doing the whatever. Like, so I'm just trying to get in their main person that they did, right?
Okay.
Uh, so first up we have David W. Collins as the service droid that they steal the fruit from. Uh, AJ Lacasio as young Colby, we'll call him, young Cad Bane. He is the voice of young Cad Bane, who's known as Colby in the first episode. Um, Philip Anthony Rodriguez as the gangster Laszlo, and then Eric Lopez as Nero, which is the green friend. It's like it's really hard to keep track of these aliens. The next episode, we have Dawn Len Gardner as Erin, the female alien character. Uh, Corey Burton returns as Cad Bane. Amari Williams as the Marshal, and Art Butler as adult Nero. And then in the final episode, we have Oscar Camacho as the deputy, uh, Idris Keith as young Isaac or the child, and then Gwendolyn Yo as the mayor. Um, and that's all the main, mostly people. I did leave off. I was gonna do like a bonus thing at the end of this. We have some bonus voice casts that I left
We
out of
have
last
bonus
week's
voice
episode.
casts.
I did leave them out. We'll do that at the end because
You,
I want to. They're just like a nod to these people that have been in millions of Star Wars things and they've just done
okay.
little voices
We'll
here.
talk
So
about that when we're done talking about the whole series. All
correct.
right. You want to
Yeah.
take us into episode 1 so we can talk about
Yeah.
this episode?
So the first episode, which is actually technically episode 4, is titled "The Good Life." Two young friends get caught up in a gangster's scheme.
So, Chicago, the city of
Okay, so
Chicago.
now I understand where your little Chicago
Now,
comment came
now
from.
that you've rewatched the episodes,
Yes.
I hope you understand what I meant when I said we would talk about Chicago.
Yeah, I kind
Because
of get it now.
this is very obviously modeled on Prohibition era Chicago. That the
Gotcha.
elevated rail line
Hmm.
is clearly supposed to be, if you've ever been to Chicago, they have the L train, which is my personal favorite public transit system. This is something which has caused much consternation in my relationship because my boyfriend is a huge fan of the BART transit system up
Mm,
in San Francisco, and we will regularly argue over whether the BART transport system or the L train is superior. I argue it's the L train, but that's just me. But if you've ever been, the whole like metal struts, like the street going beneath the metal struts, that's really invoking Chicago. And then in the third episode, uh, the public park really evokes a lot of Chicago. If you watch a lot of Batman, oftentimes they will borrow elements from Chicago visually
right.
if they're doing a gangster story, if they're
Mm,
doing a mafia story. And the reason for that and the reason it's here is because Chicago was a big hotbed of like gangster activity during Prohibition,
right.
which is why it tends to turn up in a lot of Prohibition era media, particularly around Al Capone, because that's where a lot of that stuff happened. So this is very clearly, I don't know if they say the name of this planet anywhere in here,
I don't think they do, but
but it's Space Chicago.
Space
That's what they're
Chicago.
doing. It's Space Chicago. Because
I guess I should have pulled
Chicago,
it up.
the
Yeah.
visual look of Chicago has become synonymous with organized crime, which again, if you are watching any piece of media that is dealing with gangsters, it is probably going to visually look like 1930s Chicago. We don't
Right.
have time to go into the full history of why all that is and why gangsters sprung up around Prohibition and why that's a whole thing, because Bradley will cut it all out of the episode anyway.
Right. Yeah, it just says unidentified city, doesn't have and it says unnamed world. In this episode, I don't know if it comes up later on, but in this particular episode, actually no, because I think even when they go back, it just they don't say what it is, and then they're in a different planet in the last episode. So yeah,
No, it's the same planet.
is it?
It's the exact same city.
Oh,
All three episodes take place in the same city. It's just gotten visually better
oh, that's yeah, because he's like cleaned up the town or
because he's
whatever.
cleaned
Or
up the town.
that's right. It's very raunchy at first, and then it's like, okay, just
Yes,
kidding. We're doing
which
good
is
things now.
something they
Yeah.
which is something they do visually over the episodes that I like, is you can watch it transition
Hmm.
from being a crime-ridden hellhole
Right.
to being somewhere that's actually nice because
Gotcha.
they cleaned it up.
Yeah, because it does look a lot different in the last episode now that I'm looking at the picture. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes.
And they always make a point to show you the city as they go into each episode. So yeah, you're right.
Yes.
It's like a very aerial shot each time, and then
They'll
um
show you that like
yeah.
the air gradually gets cleaner.
I think that's what I yeah, that's what I
Like
was
it's
noticing. Yeah.
nighttime. It's nighttime in a lot of the first episode too.
Hmm.
This is another thing where they use like day and night because the day it's still pretty dark because we're kind of in like the underbelly. Like we spend a lot of time in alleys, we spend a lot of time under the elevated like
Right.
track system, or I forget it's a track system or like it's a roadway or whatever it is that's supposed to be the struts that they're running in between. But it's very dark, and then the second episode is almost entirely at night,
Right.
which makes it a little difficult to see unless you're watching in pitch black darkness. Disney animation, or the Lucasfilm animation, let's fucking hide everything in shadows, strikes again with these episodes. What did you think of this episode, Bradley, as far as the actual plot?
The actual plot was actually pretty good. So I think what I like about this episode in particular is it does origin story without being like, hey, this is so and so, and then this is their origin story. Like we never technically, if you're just coming in blind, they never say this is Cad Bane. We never know who that is because that's not his name. This is Colby. This is the story of Colby and Nero or whatever. So this is their story. This is not has nothing to do with Cad Bane technically, right? Because we don't know who that is at this point. And they never say it at any point in time until the second episode when he gets his moniker. And they don't actually explain why he has that moniker. He just has one.
Which is something I do like. They show how he gets
Yeah,
the iconic hat, but
right.
for the most part, they don't do the solo thing where it's like,
Yeah,
here's how he gets the blaster. Here's
right.
how he gets his name.
Well, because in the first part of Solo, he's like, what's your name?" or whatever. And he's like, Han. Yeah, you got a last name, Han?
Yeah, that whole
Yeah,
sequence. I'm
go
more
on.
talking about the sequence by the fire where they like hand him a blaster, the iconic
Okay.
blaster, and it's supposed to be this whole big moment of like, oh, look, it's the blaster from
Yeah,
the movie, or like the dice that were
right.
in A New Hope,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
granted they also like showed up in The Last Jedi, and I guess eventually we'll talk about both Last Jedi and Solo, but like I've watched the movie dozens of times in my life. I literally never noticed those dice until Last Jedi was like, these dice are really important somehow. And I was sitting in the theater like, what?
Yeah, yeah,
Where did
yeah.
those come from? They're like, oh, it's these iconic dice that are here. And I'm like, I literally never noticed the dice. I don't know why we're doing a whole storyline.
No,
That was
but
one thing
yeah.
I did like is over the course of these three episodes, but particularly this first one, is they didn't have him swearing, I will take on the name
Right,
Cad
because
Bane.
that was the name of the gangster, but I don't know.
Yeah, they
There's so
didn't
many
give it
things they
some
could have
stupid
done.
little origin story that would
No,
have been like eye rolling.
what I like about this episode is that they do his origin story in a way that's like he's not important. He's just a person that just exists in this galaxy who just has a rough start in his life. So he's an orphan. He's with his friend because they explicitly, I think, at one point when they're eating the snacks or whatever together, he explicitly says, "Do you remember your mother?" Not their mother. So they're not brothers in blood. They are brothers in the fact that they're just companions or friends or whatever.
Right.
So, um, or because they look out for each other. So they're their own family basically. We don't know how they met. We just know that they were just abandoned at a young age for some reason, which is a classic orphan story. You know, it's
The
very
show
much like
assumes you're smart enough to pick up on all that. The
right. Yeah,
show
you
is,
don't have to be explained to you. Yeah,
yeah, trust the audience to know, like, okay, we can pick up on basically what's happening with these two kids. Because
Right.
like one of the early shots of them is like eating out of trash cans, which
Yes, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
visually that tells us basically immediately without even any words like, oh, these are homeless kids.
Yes,
Like,
and I like how you can see that the other citizens or whatever who are dressed a little nicer, supposedly according to this the alien species, uh, they see these kids and they're like, "Ugh, don't get near them. They're trash kids. Like we don't want to get near the trash kids." Such a good setup for all this stuff because what they do set up with the storyline in the beginning is that you have this rich guy who is this gangster who tempts them obviously with money and essentially has them do stuff for him so that he can, I guess, take over some kind of business that's going on or whatever. Basically, something's happening where it's cutting into his funds, and so he's
yeah,
trying
and
to get
he's gonna
right.
blow up the business and kill everybody in it.
Right. And he wrangles these two homeless kids, which is something we see a lot in I would assume gangster media is where you take somebody who's a little bit under like your level who you can corroborate into getting into
Yeah.
like, you know,
Organized crime preys on the destitute and desperate because not
right,
only something that's throughout this episode too is that neither of these kids belongs anywhere.
right,
They have each other, but other than that, they have no sense of belonging. And what I think we see as the series of as these three episodes evolve is that both of them find their sense of belonging outside of each other in two diametrically opposed places when they're separated.
right,
So a lot of Cad's motivation throughout episode two has to do with his feeling of like, well, now you've taken this person who gave me a place and gave me a sense of belonging, and you've taken them away from me. And so I need to, eye for an eye punish the system by taking out the guy who took out Laszlo. My thing with this episode in particular, I didn't want these episodes. I didn't think they were a good idea. Cad Bane, over the course of the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch and the Book of Boba Fett, is a pretty monstrous character
mhm,
who is perfectly willing to kidnap babies, injure or kill children, kill innocent people, do whatever he needs to do to acquire his money. Uh, up to again kidnapping literal children or literal infants, sometimes out of their parents' arms. Like, it's pretty messed up the stuff that he did. So when they announced they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do Cad Bane's origin story," my immediate worry was, "Oh man, they're gonna make him this tragic little wooby figure, huh? They're gonna make it so that everything was fine, but a bad thing happened to him and it wasn't his fault, and now he's gonna like everything is going to be at least explainable because oh man, he was just a victim of society too, et cetera, et cetera." And I like what this episode in particular did really well for me was that it walked the line between showing that he came from circumstances that would have made him the way that he is, while also not really excusing the way that he is. Like
right,
we see why he would be so invested in having money, even though he doesn't seem to have a lot of creature comforts on his ships, or we don't see him spending his money. We don't see him playing cards. We don't see him like living in a high-rise apartment,
mhm,
despite the fact he's a bounty hunter. It's like we just see he wants to have money. And somebody who equates money with sort of, I want to say, worth or value or practicality in the way that the young Cad Bane does, especially now when we see that he can go into the candy store and he can just. I think it's less important that he's able to get the candy and more important that he's able to purchase the candy from
right,
the vendor who is then forced to treat him with some measure of respect because he has money.
right. And once he has
And
that
I do
taste of
see
that, yeah.
once he has that taste of that,
Hmm.
that's what he's going for. he really wants like respect, and then that respect turns into, well, if I can't get that through normal means, I will get it through fear,
Hmm.
which is ultimately we see in the third episode. So I did like how it walked that line of saying, no, this is still a kid that's going to grow up to be a monster, but he is still a kid, and we can see where, like, if different choices had been made, maybe Cad wouldn't have done the things that he ultimately did. But even though it's kind of a cliched story of, oh, there's two people who are friends and then they wind up on opposite sides of the law, I do think it's handled really well. And you almost kind of forget this is a crime story that has been done to death.
I was gonna say, so this episode, but these group of episodes. So like I said last time that the Asajj episodes felt like a TV pilot for me. Like it was like, okay, we're introducing this idea of like, here's the show. Like here's how she's gonna grow and change over time throughout this show. This felt more like a truncated version of a movie. Like they
Right.
wanted to do the origin story of Cad Bane, but like let's do his first kind of inciting, kind of things that lead him down the path of becoming a gangster or becoming a bounty hunter. And this is definitely more a movie. This was way
This
more
is the
so.
first act of a movie. Yeah, you can
Right.
pinpoint the
The
inciting
turn. Yep.
incident,
Hmm.
and the first act reversal is the end of this episode.
Exactly. And that would set up the rest of the movie, right? So this is just like that part of it, but it's a very good job. I think they did a good job of doing that because it gives you the quote unquote flashback, which is him as a child, and then you just that's just the intro of the movie. And then it's like, okay, let's set him up and like it they did a good job. I think I would have the only thing I would have changed is maybe the middle part. Well, let's move on to
As
unless you
I
have
say, do
anything
you want
else.
to talk about episode two? Because I don't
I
really have
do.
anything about episode one.
Okay, so moving on to episode 5, A Good Turn. Bane reunites with an old friend who is on the opposite side of the law. So now that we've done a time jump, there's been a little bit of a time jump. So we left off, they got busted during this raid or whatever, and so the cops arrested Nero, but then Cad got away with the gangsters, and now they've been living separately ever since, doing their own thing. And Cad has continued to be in this crime world, as far as we know, continuing jobs with Laszlo, and then Nero has turned his life around, but after being arrested as a child, and then now is a deputy. Um,
Now he's a cop, which it does seem like in this world, cops actually do the job that people think that they do.
right, because they're just droids for the most part, it seems.
Yes, that is one thing about the cops in this show is that they are
Hmm.
mostly droids. I think so we can shoot a whole bunch of them and it's fine.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. And then they
I think
take the
that's
people
what's
who
going
are
on.
more in positions of power as the non-humans or whatever have you, the aliens or humans.
Well, it's also
Right.
interesting because I think most of the other like officers that we see, other than Nero, are human. The Marshal
Yes.
is human, and then the
Hmm.
deputy in the third episode is human as well.
Right.
And we do see this is like a Duros, like human
It's like a
hybrid
hybrid
society,
colony. Yeah.
because we do see the city council in episode three
Hmm.
is two Duros and human,
Yeah, so it's some
even though
kind of
we've
like
seen.
shared something.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a moon of Corellia or if this is a colony or what this is,
Right. I mean, I'm sure
but
somebody will figure it out later
somebody
down
will
the road,
explain
but
it
yeah,
somewhere. It'll be in a fucking reference book somewhere.
yeah. But so I like this second part better because we do an age jump. So now you can't blame everything on, oh, they're just a child. So they, you know what I mean? Like you can't make those decisions anymore because now he has made his first adult decision essentially, which was abandoning his friend, committing committing to this life of crime, right? So he's been doing it for a while now. He does have we'll call it not a girlfriend, but we'll say a friend who happens to be a girl, because he does. They don't explicitly say he likes her in this, but they are this like together
For
together
reasons
engaged.
they are obviously sleeping together.
Yeah. They're just they're hanging out.
That we know for a fact that
Well,
something is going on between
yes.
them.
Well, anyway, so we we introduce Aaron, who is our lady friend. She stays behind with Cad because Laszlo's like, I'm gonna go do a job on your home planet where we were
Hometown. They're on the
hometown.
same
Oh,
planet,
they're on the
but
same
they're
planet? Oh, okay.
yeah, they're on the same planet, but they're gonna do he's gonna go to his hometown and
And
do
do
a
crime.
thing and do
Got it.
crimes.
And do
Yes,
crime.
unspecified crimes.
Unspecified crime that Laszlo's gonna go do. The ship comes back, and then they're like, "Yeah, Laszlo's dead. The police got him. Like he's dead. The marshal killed him." And then Cad, for some reason, other than that, I'm guessing, I feel like they leave out a lot here. This is the part where I would like, this is where the movie would have fleshed it out, I think, a little bit better, which is the relationship between him and Laszlo, other than you're the guy that gave me money one time. I need it to be more like he's my
Yeah,
father figure kind of thing.
Laszlo says welcome to the family at the end of episode 1 and then cut to episode 2 and we have a little bit of a scene of them together but not a whole. We have to infer a lot about Cad's relationship with Laszlo
Right.
from the way Cad acts after Laszlo dies.
Exactly. I think that's, and it's still the same storyline of the guy that the gangster takes under his wing, gets revenge after the gangster is killed because that's what gangster movies are. You always get revenge because that's how eye for an eye, that's just how it works. And it's very much like that's his only motivation and we need to just accept that. And I have to like in my brain go like, okay, he's like his father figure that he never had parents that cared about him. This is the closest thing he had to a family. This is his motivation. I just have to infer all that because they really don't tell you. Like it is all implied, unfortunately. Um, and that even honestly, the relationship with Aaron is just I feel like it's all implied. Like other than the fact that later on in the episode, she does say things that like hint at certain things that might happen in the third episode.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll talk about that.
yeah, but she does hint at those things. And if you really pay attention to what she's saying, she's like, you don't have to get revenge. There's other ways we can be safe together, blah, 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 blah. There's other things that she brings up.
For me, this is the weakest episode
Yeah.
of the trio.
Hmm.
And I think the reason I couldn't figure out why it was the weakest of the three for me until you started talking. Because I do think you're right. I think that I keep calling them episodes 1, 2, and
I
3. They're
know.
episodes 4, 5, and 6. The first Cad Bane episode
There you go.
spends some time establishing the relationship between Nero and Colby over, like, even though the episode has a plot, we do have enough moments establishing their relationship somehow
Right.
that we don't feel like we feel like we can infer a lot. Episode 3 does the same thing with Isaac and Nero. There's enough in there between the two and how Nero interacts with Isaac to show us what that relationship is, even though they don't. At no point does Isaac turn to the camera and be like, "My dad's a good guy and he raised me after our mom died. My mom died." And blah blah blah. Like he doesn't turn to the camera to do it. We just sort of get it. This episode, I don't think has that strong of a like inference that you can directly make in the events that are occurring. Uh, Erin, we see that she cares a lot about Cad, but that's pretty much her whole character
Yeah.
in this, which is also not great. That her entire character is basically like, I care about Cad and don't want him to die for unspecified reasons that I can't fucking tell him.
Yeah. She spends
Even
a
though if
lot
I
of
just
time not
told him,
telling him things in this
she spends a lot of
episode.
time being cryptic and mysterious
Which
about
is
a big twist that we're going to find out in
right.
15 minutes, then fucking dies off screen
Right.
so that she can be a presence hanging over the story and not actually have to be in it for the third act. And that bothered me a lot about how these episodes were written
Yeah.
Were it not for the mayor, whose gender is completely incidental, uh, this being your only real female character of note that has a character beyond her job as the mayor's job
Right.
as the mayor in the third episode, and have that character entirely revolve around one, a man, and two, a child that you will have with that man. Aaron, I think, needed more of a character outside of that, even just hints of a character outside of that. And I think that would have fleshed this episode a lot out for me. I get that it would have taken a little bit away from the relationship between Colby and Nero, but also this episode I felt like tried to do too much too quickly. It tried to do the relationship between Colby and
Yes.
Nero, the relationship between Colby and Aaron, and the relationship between Laszlo and Colby, and the relationship between the Marshal and Nero,
Yeah, you're right. There.
all in 13 minutes,
Yeah.
which it did not have the time to do.
I I would sacrifice the relationship between Nero and the Marshal because they're coworkers. So I would say that like fine. They either generally like each other or whatever, right? I don't necessarily need that beat as much because I can believe that like before anything else, they're just coworkers. So he cares about him in the way that he cares about like I'm gonna care about a coworker because we work together. I definitely think Aaron should have been introduced, I think, in the first episode. I think they should have met as kids as well. I think they should have been from a similar lifestyle, like backstory kind of thing. And then maybe Aaron and Colby and Nero all were together. Maybe it was three in the beginning. And then they split up into two, became a duo. And that's why he feels more of a connection with her and a stronger vibe with her, like that he owns, like essentially he owns her, which is kind of what unfortunately it feels like. He feels like he has this claim to her um, because he gets mad in the third episode. But we'll get to that in a second. But I
Yeah,
just, yeah.
he gets real weird about, which I'm actually not going to fault the writing of Bane himself for that.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say that was a bad choice on the parts of the writers. I actually did like that he got real weird about his mental image of her and like could not accept that one, she was dead, but two, she had moved on.
Right.
She had also like betrayed him in the same way
Well,
that
I was gonna
Nero
say at the
did.
end of this episode, she does betray him, so it doesn't help.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't hate that he got real weird about it because ultimately Bane is supposed to be an antagonistic, villainous character.
right,
Like he is not a good person. Of course he's weird about these things. Of course Nero's pretty normal about the whole thing. But
right. He's the only one who makes his actions are the only ones that like genuinely make sense. Like when he meets Cad for like the first time after they were separated as kids, Cad is like, "Oh my God, like I can't believe you're you're okay. Like I'm so happy to see you," kind of thing. And then Nero's not. He's kind of more like, "Oh, I didn't realize you'd be like this happy to see me," kind of thing. It's really strange because it feels like the opposite reaction of what would happen. I guess the only difference is that Nero, I guess, semi feels abandoned, so he would be like, "You left
well,
me," kind of thing.
Cad Bane is also a new generation of an existential threat to Nero because Nero says his whole thing because he basically tries to get Cad Bane to turn back to the light side where he's like, dude, we're actually making progress cleaning up the city. And what he's
Right,
saying is this path that you're on right now, there will be no place for it. So I want you to come back and rejoin me because ultimately my side is going to win. And we're going to have to throw you in prison and or kill you to make that happen if you don't turn away,
right,
which ultimately Bane doesn't do it. The only reason he survives is because Aaron betrays him because she wants to keep him alive.
right.
Then she
Which
marries the
she
guy who shot her,
doesn't.
which, okay.
Yeah, I have some problems with. Okay, so I have two problems with this episode in that the Marshal, it doesn't explain why or how he killed Laszlo. We just can assume it was some kind of shootout in some kind of capacity where Laszlo was committing a crime, and then he got caught, and then the Marshal just ended up killing him. However, the way the Marshal talks about it later on is like he kind of was like he gave me no choice kind of thing, or like he keeps saying like it's up to them like whether or not like I kill them or not. And I thought that was weird because he says that about Cad when he's like, "Oh, Cad's coming to get revenge." And he's like, "Well, it's on him whether or not he, if he listens to me or not, he's gonna die or something like that." And I was like, "That's a little weird because you'd think that because Nero's like, oh, you don't have to kill him. Like it's, we can find a solution to this. Like there doesn't have to be a shootout. There doesn't have to be a whatever." And the Marshal instantly is like, "Nah, it's pretty much going to be up to, Cad whether or not I kill him or not." And
Well,
then
because I think the Marshal knows what Nero won't accept, which is when you've spent the last 10 years or whatever doing crime, you're not going to
yeah,
randomly stop doing crime because someone
right.
asked you nicely. Like, you really
Right.
have. There's a lot of things that they could have done with this story with more
Hmm.
time
Yeah.
that are kind of simmering in the background. And most of it is like, okay, I've seen enough gangster movies to know, you know, what's going on here. I've seen Goodfellas. I've seen uh the fuck is that Sean? The Untouchables. Like, I kind of get what's happening. I've watched enough gangster media. I've watched The Penguin to know
Yeah.
what's happening here, but there is a lot of inference that I'm having to do, particularly with the second episode, with the
Right.
story beats for this episode.
Well, let's move on to the third episode so we can kind of stop beating around the bush about what we're talking about, which is episode 6, One Good Deed. Cad Bane and his gang return home to settle a score. So Cad is arrested because Aaron does betray him by
Betray him.
stealing his gun, and so that he can't actually shoot Nero, um, which is great because she kind of takes the choice away from him of killing his best friend, basically. So she does kind of solve that issue for him. However, the Marshal accidentally shoots her, and then she, I guess, like survives that. And then they don't really explain it. They just say Cad Bane gets arrested. She survives that in some capacity, and then they move on. A couple years later, we get now Nero is now the Marshal himself. The town is cleaned up. There's not as much crime. Everything is hunky dory. He has a son now, and unfortunately, Cad Bane is about to get out of prison based on some kind of technicality, uh, which they don't explain what that technicality is. They just say something happened,
They
and
just
I
say the
guess
legal system is what it is. We move on.
right, which is okay, fine. Um,
It's for kids,
yeah,
so we're the criminal getting off on a technicality is a big like trope in
right,
gangster media. It's like, oh, there's a minor technicality, so X, Y, and Z got out of prison. That's usually how these stories start too. Is like particularly if a story of like a criminal got out of prison and is going to do crime and somebody has to stop them. Usually they got out. Like everybody knows they're guilty. Everybody knows they did the thing, but there was a legal technicality. There was an error in the arrest. He didn't get read his Miranda rights or whatever, so now we have to let him go. So that's a common thing.
right. And then I like how he has his son now, which I hate when they do son storylines only because
Yeah, okay, let's talk about this fucking kid.
okay,
So I hate this.
you
I
do.
don't like it.
Yeah,
I think it's done really well in the context of this specific story. I think the character is fine in the context of this specific story. Bane orphans his son
right,
in the same way that he himself was orphaned. There's a lot to talk about, like cycles of violence and perpetrating the cycles of violence
right.
in these episodes. It does feel like this story exists for the sole purpose of having this legacy character.
Really? Okay. I thought they were just
It
gonna like
feels
say
like
whatever. Yeah,
conceptually, I can kind of see how they're starting to seed stuff, particularly with this Tales of the Underworld. We talked about with Ventress, how it felt like they were setting up new characters that Star Wars animation could use, which, what's his face? Lyco was a great version of this, to where he's vaguely connected to a legacy character, but he can show up in a later piece of animation. They don't have to keep dipping into the same well of characters.
mm,
Isaac feels like the opposite side of this to where, oh no, he's going to be Cad Bane's kid. There's only one of two ways they can go with this guy.
Yeah.
He's either going to become like a marshal himself, or he's going to become a criminal. And either way, it's very clear that, like, unless the writing for him gets really, really, really good when he's an adult, it's going to be like either this is discount Cad Bane or haha, Cad Bane's kid turned out to be a cop,
Yeah,
which I don't see a lot of story potential in either of those.
yeah,
And I don't see much they could do with this character to make him interesting outside of that context.
right.
And I really don't like that, especially too in the middle of the story about Cad Bane. Again, within the narrative context of the story, the kid works. Just in terms of the broader Star Wars meta narrative, I don't know what they're going to do with this guy. And it feels like this is a weird note to end this kid's story on.
What's funny is when I was watching it, well, I had two things. One, I didn't actually know that it was his kid at first, until literally the part where he's like looking into his eyes and he's like, "Oh shit, that's my fucking kid." Like, I think they did a decent enough job if you're just a casual viewer to like be like, "Okay, he had a kid with his girlfriend, that's why he's mad." Now watching it back the second time, I got the hints from the second episode where she was like, you know, we have more to live for and all this bullshit, right? So like she was obviously like, I'm pregnant, but people hate saying I'm pregnant to the baby daddy for some reason, for drama, in in all media. Um, so I do like the surprise that it is his kid. However, what's funny is I think this him killing his adopted father or whatever, uh, who's his best friend, almost makes for a better origin story for Cad Bane. Like Isaac should be Cad Bane. I don't think it should be his kid, if that makes sense. Like this should have been Cad Bane's origin story. Like I feel like that could have been more so in line with like we could have gotten this as like why he is the way he is kind of thing is because his dad was killed by, or his adopted dad was killed by his real dad, kind of thing. And he just didn't know. That would have been a more interesting story. Now you've kind of bend it to where Isaac was raised by Nero, so he has the goodness instilled in him already, or theoretically, because he's like, "Are you going after the bad man?" and blah 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 blah. So they've already hinted at the fact that because he's been raised by Nero, he's theoretically a good guy, or he will be a good guy when he gets older. But now that he has received trauma from Cad Bane, who is his actual father, it is interesting. Like, will that change him moving forward? I don't know. I think this is just kind of like a whatever plot line that is just never going to get solved ever again. I don't think they're ever going to come back
It
to
will,
it.
in my personal opinion, it would be stronger if they never returned to this.
I don't think they will. I think this is one of those things where it's like you can just leave it and it's just like let yourself infer to what happened to him. I don't think it matters.
That would
Um,
probably leave it stronger. Because my concern
yeah,
is not where it is in the context of this particular narrative.
yeah,
My concern is the future of Star Wars storytelling and animation and what they could potentially do with this character, which I don't see him set up to be a particularly strong or interesting character.
right.
It
Because yeah, like I'd
The
hate for
most
them to go
interesting
like,
choice with him would just be he turns out to be a normal fucking dude,
yeah, I'd hate
which
for them to do that, but like because like I could see them doing like I'm not saying that this is when this takes place. I have know nothing about Star Wars Outlaws. I don't know when all that stuff takes place, but fast forward to Outlaws, I could see like a thing where they were like, "Oh, here's a little side quest," and like who appears in the side quest? Isaac the gangster or whatever, who just happens to be the Cad Bane.
see
You know
that
what I
would
mean? Like
annoy me because it's like
right,
what is he's discount Cad Bane at that point.
exactly. Because
He's
Cad Bane's
just
dead at that point,
it's
so it's like you
yeah,
can't use him. Like whatever or he's not dead yet, but because we know in sorry spoilers for Book of Boba, I guess, but he dies in Book of Boba, but.
he dies in Book
Uh,
of Boba Fett, yeah.
Yeah.
Which it
Um,
does seem like he's going to just stay dead. It does seem like
yeah,
that's ultimately going to be what kills him because
right.
there don't seem to be any plans to bring him back. And honestly, Jod seems to be kind of taking his place.
Yeah.
as like vague underworld kind of guy. Although they don't, they haven't done a lot of bounty hunter stories in like the sequel trilogy era,
Right. Yeah. What if he just
and
randomly shows up later on
they've
down the
kind
road?
of dropped that aspect of the Mandalorian.
Mm.
They kind of dropped it after season one.
Isaac shows up in Mando and Grogu as
Oh
a
fucking
marshal in
hell!
there. Actually, now if he was a marshal, I wouldn't be as weird about it because I feel like that's just a natural progression for his
Well,
character
again,
anyway.
then I have the same issue because the joke is, haha, Cad Bane's kid is a marshal.
Yeah.
There's a little more potential with that because you can kind of do the reconciling the fact my dad was Cad Bane
Right. I have to
versus
make up for
being a
his sins
marshal.
kind of thing.
But
Yeah.
even that is still like the conception of this character then becomes okay, well, it's Cad Bane's kid, but he is a cop now, which
Yeah, it's tough because
I
I
don't see where they would go with that that's like sustainable in the long term. I can see him popping up for like one episode of something,
yeah,
but
it's hard. I don't know how they would do it. I don't think that
it's
they
tricky.
will, but you never know. I don't put it
The
past
rest of
Star
the
Wars. Yeah.
episodes, yeah, the rest of the episode's fine, by the way. It's pretty good. It's tense.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's
It's
very tense.
interesting.
I think it's good. I like how the council members are like, no, you need to just straight up kill this guy. Like he's a criminal. Like we need to
You
kill
either
this
need to
guy.
leave or kill this guy.
Yeah, and then they're pressuring Nero to be like, you need to go against your morals as who you are to just like we're okay with it. Like go ahead and kill him. Like we're fine. Like we just don't want trouble anymore in our town because it's all clean now and we're doing good. So go ahead and do the thing that you don't want to do. It'll make our lives easier.
Yeah, and that's the tension of the episode is like
Yeah,
we also know from Star Wars that Nero will not succeed, that Cad Bane will become the heartless monster that he is,
right.
or he already is the heartless monster that he is in the Clone Wars and Bad Batch and Book of Boba Fett. So there's again there's that opens up a really interesting line of discussion about like the role of morality in keeping an area like safe and clean and like what morally questionable choices do you as a society make if you're going to clean up an area like this?
Right.
Like, do you ultimately become the monsters yourselves in holding on to this grip of perfection? Or is it a morally justified thing when somebody has done the things that Cad Bane has done or intends to do to use lethal force against them? That's all very interesting, but the episode doesn't really explore it
Right.
because it doesn't have time
It doesn't have time. And that's why
to
that's
do that.
my
And
thing
you
about
could
these
have
I don't
done
like.
if you had expanded that if you'd cut this together as a movie and you'd expanded this by 30 minutes.
Yes.
One of the things you could have done was show the idea of do we need to compromise our morality as a society in a different way in order to not allow crime to flourish? Do we slip down into authoritarian policing in order to make that happen? But we don't have time to explore that. And the episode, I do think, wisely makes it about the family drama between Nero and Isaac and the character of Nero as Cad Bane is approaching. Because Cad Bane's not really in this episode. He's
Right.
more of a looming shit. He's become more of the legend. We see a micro version of the legend that will eventually be the entire galaxy, to where the fear of Cad Bane is as effective as Cad Bane himself is. Episode's good. I didn't have any other thoughts on it.
Nice. All right. Well, then I guess we'll go into just final thoughts on Underworld as a whole because this
Yeah,
is
who
our last
directed and
episode.
wrote these episodes?
Oh yeah, I did actually get them this
It's
time.
all the same
So
people.
all the same people. Matt Mitchell is the head writer still. Directors in order of the episodes are Saul Ruiz, Stuart Lee, and Nathaniel Villanueva.
Nice.
Um, so we've heard them all before, and they're great. I did say I was going to give you some bonus voices
Yep.
throughout these
Give me
episodes.
some bonus voices.
In the first three episodes, we have Steve Bloom does the voice of a smuggler and a stormtrooper. Matthew Wood as an Imperial tech. D. Bradley Baker as a Raider and the Raider Elder. And then in the second half episodes, the Cad Bane episodes, we have Vanessa Marshall as Alien Mother and News Reporter, Jason Hightower as Tay Gruddy and Council Member One, and then Helen Sadler as Council Member Two. So
Nice.
those are just some voices that we've heard before in the Star Wars continuity. I just thought would I bring up because I feel like someone's gonna be like, "You didn't talk about how Vanessa Marshall was the news reporter at the very beginning of the first Cad Bane episode." And I'll be like, I mean, you can barely hear her voice for like 3 seconds, so
Sure, we'll
yeah.
bring her up now. Shout out to Vanessa Marshall for
Right.
being cool. Yeah,
Um,
I thought the
yeah,
overall series was it was good. It was the best of the tales that they've done. I think
so far, yeah.
they nailed exactly what the series really should be. I see what they were going for with Tales of the Jedi, where they were trying to tell three separate short stories for each of the Jedi involved.
Right.
I didn't think that really worked
Agree.
in retrospect. Then I see what Tales of the Empire was kind of doing, where it's telling three separate stories, but they are somewhat connected
Right.
by reusing the same characters and telling them at different points of time. These were, I think, this is the strongest version because now we have three episodes that follow a linear plot, that use the same characters and have time to tell a satisfying arc. And that's where I think it is for me, that whole a satisfying arc thing. Is that I was satisfied by the time I left all three of these episodes with the character development of Lyco and Asajj and Cad Bane and Nero over the course of these episodes. So this was the best Tale series that they've done so far.
I definitely agree. I love these particular characters. I think were also strong choices. I think if you go back, I think Ahsoka and Dooku were good, but I think Ahsoka is a safe choice for Tales of the Jedi. I think Dooku was a more interesting choice because we don't have as much information. We do, but we don't, you know? And then with Empire, I mean, Morgan Elsbeth was a great choice because we definitely needed more from her. And then we definitely wanted, everybody wanted more for uh, Barris. So those were great choices for that one. So I think this is also a great choice. Everybody loves Asajj Ventress, of course. She definitely one of the characters I think needs more stuff. Cad, I would it's 50-50 whether or not he actually needed an episode arc here. I don't know who I would replace him with though. That's my thing is because this is supposed to be like quote unquote the underground. I don't know who's more interesting of a choice to pick. Um, so I can't complain too much about that because I genuinely don't have a like a replacement for him unless you can think of somebody, but I genuinely I'm like, it's fine. Like I don't know anybody else who I would have picked, but um these are fine choices. I think now that we've gone through this evolution of Tales of the Underworld, Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Jedi, what's next? What's our next Tales and what's the next evolution of that?
I would hope Tales of the Rebellion or Tales of the Sith. That's what I would do.
Yeah. And who's in your Tales of the Rebellion? Who you doing in that one?
Oh, shoo, geez.
You don't have to do two. You can just pick one, but
Hmm. Tales of the Rebellion or Tales of the Sith? Well, if I'm doing Tales of the Sith, then hmm.
I have
If
an
I'm
easy
doing
answer for Tales of the Sith, but
if I'm doing Tales of the Sith, I actually kind of want to do Palpatine.
I was just about to say
Not
that.
an
Yeah.
origin story for him, but
Right.
let's get Ian McDiarmid on the mic while he's still alive
100% agree.
and do a Palpatine story with
I think
him,
so.
just while he's Emperor or while he is the Chancellor.
I
I
think
think that could be really
yeah,
interesting. I don't
because
know who you
yeah.
would do for the other one.
Well,
Maybe
I know, but people, it's because
I'd want to see Chimere or Plagueis.
interesting.
I'd want to see them
Plagueis,
do
yeah.
explore that a little bit.
I was thinking Chimere Plagueis as my like well mostly Chimere because I didn't know how we don't know how that's going to shake out later on down the road. Is it are they going to do more Acolyte? We don't know. So I feel like to satisfy that, I wouldn't be mad at doing a Chimere Plagueis storyline. um, or just Plagueis by themselves. I don't know what that looks like, but it would be interesting to get that perspective. I think for the Palpatine thing, I'm with you. I don't need origin story Palpatine because I know what that is basically. I think I need,
We've done that in Plagueis. I
yeah,
have opinions about the origin story for
yeah.
Palpatine in Plagueis. Uh, Even though Plagueis is a really good book, so I don't think we need to know like how he became.
No, I think we need more perspective of Palpatine during Empire reign, what he's actually doing. Like, I think they're like people like tend to be like, oh, he's just sitting in his room all day. Like, I need to see him
We
doing his
know,
machinations behind the
yeah,
scenes, like
we
what
know
he's
he's
doing.
doing stuff because we know that during his reign he hears a call from the unknown regions.
Mm,
And then we know by the time of Empire Strikes Back, he's established a foothold on Exegol.
right.
So he's made contact with the Sith Eternal cult. But we don't really know a whole lot of
I
all
think
that.
the Exegol stuff would be interesting. I think they need
Yeah.
more of that because it would help flesh out Rise of Skywalker better. And I think that would be a good like companion piece to that. Um,
They need to do a Tales of Rebellion and they need to do Wedge Antilles. Wedge
Interesting.
Antilles is criminally underrepresented in canon.
Okay. I was
Criminally. I know he's in Aftermath.
uh-huh.
I'm aware he's in Aftermath. And I'm aware he's in Resistance Reborn. But he is pretty criminally underrepresented in canon. And I think we need more Wedge Antilles.
You're gonna hate me, but they already did it in this Tales of the Underworld, so I'm taking ideas from a book, and they just need to do a Phasma, Tales of the Phasma. I don't know what it is,
Tales of
but
the Phasma.
Tales of the First Order.
I could see them doing Tales of the First Order.
I think
Or
that's what it needs to
Phasma
be. I
and
think they need to do Phasma and uh what's his face? Um
Hux.
Hux, yes. They need to do Phasma and Hux and that way they can be it'll be 6 episodes. They'll be separate, but like they'll be one story, if that makes sense. I think that's like the next evolution of this because I feel like the problem with these is you don't get
I think
enough.
they should do Phasma and Pride.
Yeah, but
General
I don't
Pride.
know if
Or,
people know that
yeah.
enough.
Well, that's why you need to do it.
I know,
Is
but
because
the hook with all of these is that we already know the characters you're covering, so that's usually the hook with all these episodes.
do we? Yeah. I guess generally they do one character we already know pretty well and one character that he's expanding on.
Right. I don't know. I think it
So
would be good. I don't know how it would work. I just want to be in the room when they're having these discussions so I can just be like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah, mm-hmm, yeah. Now, how about we do Phasma? How about we do, just to get something else. I don't know. But so far I think they've done a decent job. But I think the next evolution of this, though, I do want to see 6 episodes that are intertwined so that I get more of the story. I feel like we always get just a little bit less than we want with all of these. Like you said, I think just 30 more minutes. Like I just need a little bit more time. Or instead of only doing the 3 and 3, just do 6 episodes, make it, more. Do 8 episodes, do 12 episodes. Like what? I don't know why. I mean, I know that the reasoning is just because animation takes a long time and XYZ, but like I would be more like, because if you look at the runtime for Tales of the Underworld, it's an hour and 32 minutes. So take out all the credits and stuff, you're basically a little bit less than a 90-minute movie. I I need them to do a full thing. That's a full 90-minute movie. That that's fine. People can sit for an hour and 30 minutes and watch an animated movie. They can. They do it all the time with all of their stuff. So I think we need a full thing at this point.
all right. Well, I don't want to drag this episode on too long. So, Bradley, what are we covering starting next week?
Oh, I'm like
The week after next. Fuck.
yeah, I was like,
It
wait a minute.
literally changed this week.
Yes,
I
sorry.
logged into the schedule to do our pre-meeting. Let's change the fucking schedule again and saw that Bradley had changed the schedule. So Bradley is unavailable next Monday. So we're just gonna skip the episode next Monday so that Bradley can transition into whatever new thing he's doing. Can't really talk about it,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. But he should be doing something new uh next week. So we're gonna give him that Monday off so he doesn't have to worry about uploading everything to socials and having something edited by then. And then what are we jumping into, Bradley? What are we
Well,
doing?
to celebrate the release of, it just happened to work this way, of Vision season 3, we're gonna go back and do Vision season 2. Because guess what we haven't done? It's Vision season
Vision
2.
season 2.
So we're
We're
gonna go
doing
do that.
more visions. And I
Exactly.
don't have to spend the entire series profusely apologizing to my boyfriend for fucking up all the anime things because we're going global this time.
Yes, this is gonna be an interesting season because it's all different animation
All
houses. So
different.
yeah, I like it. So we'll see how that goes.
Alrighty. Well, let's do our pluggables. So, Bradley works on a bunch of reality TV. If you like reality TV, please watch it so he can continue to be employed, including such things as Married to Medicine, The Circle, Temptation Island, Queen's Court, and King's Court. I am on a Star Wars TTRPG podcast called For Light and Dice. I have it on good authority that our next recording session, we just recorded something this week, and our next recording session is going to be a marathon because it's our season 2 finale.
Ooh,
And Chris doesn't want to break the session. He doesn't want to break up the flow of the session. So we are going to record a fucking massive, like, it's going to come out in chunks, but we're going to record a massive section to end our second season of For Light and Dice,
nice.
which is very, very exciting. So keep your ears tuned. We're coming up on the end of the second season. Now is a good time to go back and catch up on the first 2 seasons because it will come to a season 2 will come to a satisfying narrative conclusion very imminently. Some characters have death flags, but we're not going to get into that. I also write queer mystery thriller novels, Beach House Studios, Kobo, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can request it at your library. And that's it. Next week we're off, and then we're doing Visions. And then Bradley and I will definitely change what we're doing after that 3 or 4 more times before we settle on something.
Star Wars media is always in flux, so
Lucasfilm, always in motion. The future is. Run our socials. Thank you for listening to Gold Squadron Gaze. Did Charles fuck something up? Email us at goldsquadrongaze@gmail.com and let us know. You can follow us on BlueSky, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Gold Squadron Gaze. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Gold Squadron Gaze, where we post full episodes of this podcast. If you like the podcast, you can also rate us and review us on your favorite podcast app of choice. Please join us next week and every week for another episode of Gold Squadron Gaze.